Imagine one sentence: rules are flexible, costing you $5,000. The higher price is paid in decency. The line hangs in a room that runs on small sounds, the HVAC's steady breath, shoes nibbling at marble, a clerk turning pages like careful weather. Judge Caprio scans the docket. The door opens. Olivia Brenner enters as if the hallway belongs to her, a polished coat, precise hair, a phone in her hand like a passport stamped everywhere. 26, poised, with that careful calm people wear when they've never had to explain themselves. On paper, it's ordinary: speeding, parking in a disabled zone, late payment. In her stance, nothing is ordinary. Miss Brenner, Caprio says, glancing up, do you understand why you're here? She smiles, not unkindly, but as if sharing a private joke with the air. I do, sir. But, you know, rules are there to bend a little when needed, aren't they? The gallery rustles, quiet laughter, a whisper that sounds like a wince. Caprio's eyes narrow the way a lens sharpens. He hears philosophy in the quip, not humor. You believe rules are flexible, he asks. My father says outcomes matter. The rest is bureaucracy. That pulls the room taut. In the back row, a veteran murmurs to no one, my boy died because someone thought the rules were flexible. The sentence falls like a coin into deep water and keeps falling. Caprio doesn't raise his voice. Put the phone on the rail, please, and look at me. Her thumb hesitates, the screen goes black. She lifts her chin, meets his eyes. In here, the judge says, we will test how flexible rules are, for everyone. Olivia's smile thins. The room's light turns unforgiving, flattening the glow in her confidence. The phone lies face down like a closed door. He reads the charges without theater, letting the ink do the work. The gallery leans in, not for spectacle, but because they've heard a tone change that means more than fines and dates. The veteran's gaze holds steady. A woman near the aisle folds her hands. Someone stops recording, as if instinctively aware this isn't content, it's consequence. Olivia shifts her weight, a subtle adjustment that betrays nerves. She's learned to move through checkpoints others can't see, this bench is not one of them. For a heartbeat, she looks younger, like a student who has prepared for the wrong exam. Caprio closes the folder. Miss Brenner, he says evenly, we'll begin with the truth and see where it bends, if it does at all. The air tightens. Paper stills. Somewhere, a clock ticks with the soft certainty of things that don't negotiate. The case that should have been a receipt now feels like a mirror, and everyone in the room understands they're about to watch which reflection she chooses. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Caprio waits until the quiet feels absolute. Then, softly. Miss Brenner, tell me, why didn't you pay the fine when it was due? Olivia exhales, slow and deliberate, as though buying time. Her bracelet clinks against the table. Honestly, sir. Because it didn't seem to matter. My father always handles these things. He would have called someone, and that would have been it. The admission lands heavier than she expects. A few people shift in their seats. The judge's gaze doesn't move. So, he says, your father is Senator Brenner, the same one who gave that speech last year about, no one standing above the law, correct? Her jaw tenses. Yes. But this has nothing to do with him. Doesn't it? His tone stays mild, but the question cuts cleanly. He preaches equality before the law. Meanwhile, his daughter stands here saying rules don't apply if her last name is convenient. She looks down, twisting the ring on her finger. You don't understand. I'm not trying to use his name. But it's there, and people treat me differently whether I want them to or not. Convenient, Caprio murmurs. It opens doors, but you pretend you didn't bring the key. The remark stings. She straightens her back, voice sharper. You think I asked for this? That I like being known for who he is instead of who I am? He nods slightly. I think you learned early that power forgives the comfortable. A flicker of emotion passes through her face, offense, confusion, something deeper. He turns a page in the file, slow enough for the sound to settle the room. This isn't your first violation, Miss Brenner. She blinks. Excuse me. Parking in a school zone last summer. Speeding near the Providence Hospital. A late payment from 2 years ago that was quietly dismissed. Would you like me to continue? Her expression freezes. Someone in the gallery inhales sharply. That's not relevant, she says quickly. It's pattern, he replies. And patterns tell stories rules cannot. He leans forward slightly. You said your father handles things. Did he handle those too? She hesitates, then forces a half smile. Let's just say the press would have made a big deal out of nothing. The words echo like a confession. Caprio lets them hang before speaking again. So you believe your name protects you? Her confidence wavers. I didn't say that. You didn't need to. Silence stretches until it feels like air might break under its weight. Caprio places his pen down. Do you know how many people come through this court who can't afford a parking ticket? They show up terrified. Not because of the fine, but because they know if they fail to pay, they lose their license, their job, their chance to get home to their kids. Olivia looks away, jaw clenched. I didn't mean any harm. That's the trouble with privilege, Caprio says quietly. It rarely means to harm. It just forgets what harm looks like from below. The woman in the back row, the veteran's wife, nods faintly. The gallery grows still again. Caprio continues, gentler now. Do you ever ask yourself who pays the cost of your father's name? Olivia's lips part, but no answer comes. The judge's tone softens further. I've met your father. He's intelligent, persuasive, and I don't doubt he loves you. But he fights for fairness while you stand here proving how fragile fairness can be. Her voice is almost a whisper. I'm not like him. I hope not, he says simply. Because he's become too practiced at winning. She blinks at that, unsure if it's an insult or mercy. Caprio leans back. Miss Brenner, tell me, what would have happened if the person parked in that disabled space had been your father? The man who lectures about integrity forced to park 3 blocks away while his daughter bought coffee? Olivia doesn't respond. The judge lets out a long breath. You don't yet understand how expensive dignity is. But I suspect by the end of today, you will. He gestures to the clerk. Please pull up the footage from the municipal camera. The lights dim slightly as the monitor flickers to life. Olivia's reflection catches in the black screen, her composure thinning. The click of the space bar breaks the silence. Caprio folds his hands. Let's see, Miss Brenner, just how flexible the truth is when it's recorded. And as the footage begins to play, her face loses its certainty, replaced by the first glint of doubt, the kind that doesn't fade when the screen goes dark. The courtroom lights dim slightly as the footage loads. The soft hum of the projector fills the pause. On the screen, Olivia's silver sedan glides into the disabled parking zone and stops neatly between 2 blue-painted lines. The timestamp begins its quiet climb, minute after minute, 40 of them in total. Caprio studies the screen, expression unreadable. You said 2 minutes, Miss Brenner. Olivia's lips barely move. Yes, sir. Maybe 3. He taps the desk with his pen, not in anger, but rhythm, controlled, deliberate. The camera appears to disagree. Her shoulders tense. Maybe the footage is wrong. It happens. Cameras don't forget, Caprio says softly. People do. She looks away, forcing a shallow laugh. You're acting like I committed a crime. He doesn't respond. He switches to the second clip. On it, Olivia steps out of the car, phone pressed to her ear, sunglasses in place, walking briskly toward a coffee shop. 10 minutes later, the same camera catches her crossing the street again, this time into a beauty salon. Caprio lets the images play in silence. When it ends, he turns to her. So the meeting you mentioned, was it with a barista or a stylist? The line hits like cold air. She stiffens. I had appointments that day. Work-related. He nods slowly. Of course. Important work. The gallery holds its breath. Then, a voice from the back, frail, wavering, but steady in intent. That was the day I couldn't find parking. Everyone turns. A woman with a cane, hair silver and face marked by exhaustion, stands near the rear bench. I was going to that same coffee shop. I remember that car. I thought maybe the driver just stopped for a second. I waited. Then I left. Olivia turns sharply. I didn't know. Caprio raises a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. Miss, please come forward. The woman makes her way slowly to the aisle. Every tap of her cane lands like a metronome against Olivia's composure. When she reaches the front, Caprio asks gently, "You needed that parking space?" She nods. "My knees are bad. I can't walk far." That day, I ended up skipping my appointment. It's not her fault, I suppose. She didn't see me. Caprio's voice softens further. She didn't look. The room stays silent long after the woman returns to her seat. Olivia's hands tremble slightly, though she hides them under the table. Caprio finally speaks, measured and low, "The law isn't about punishment. It's about boundaries between your convenience and someone else's need. You've mistaken privilege for freedom, Miss Brenner. They are not the same thing." She swallows hard. "I didn't mean." "Intent doesn't erase impact," he interrupts. "You call this a minor offense. Tell that to the people who live their lives negotiating every curb, every step, every small indignity the rest of us overlook." The veteran in the back murmurs something again, this time it sounds like a prayer. Caprio looks directly at Olivia. "Do you know what I see when I read your record? A pattern of small exceptions. Small exceptions become habits. Habits become beliefs. And beliefs, well, they build the kind of world where people stop noticing each other." Olivia stares down at the table. For the first time, her voice falters. "I never wanted to hurt anyone." Caprio nods once. "That's what most people who do harm say." The gallery remains quiet, the tension now feels less like accusation and more like revelation. He leans back slightly, folding his hands. There's an old saying, character is what you do when no one's watching. Today, we watched. And what we saw wasn't lawlessness. It was indifference. The words hit harder than any fine could. Caprio signals to the clerk. "Leave the lights off for a moment." The courtroom stays dim, the paused image of her car glowing faintly on the wall, a monument to thoughtless privilege. "Miss Brenner," he says finally, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "today you'll see just how flexible rules become when the truth bends to reach them." The gavel doesn't fall. The silence does. Caprio lets the silence sit until it becomes weight itself. Then, gently but with precision. "Miss Brenner, you said you never wanted your name to define you. Yet it seems it's the only thing holding you up." Her eyes flash for an instant, but the strength behind them is fraying. "That's not fair," she murmurs. "Fair?" Caprio repeats, almost to himself. "Let's talk about fair." He signals to the clerk. "Please call Sergeant Danny Clark." The double doors at the back open, and an older officer walks in. His uniform is worn, the fabric softened by decades of service. His steps are slow but sure. The gallery straightens, instinctively recognizing the gravity of a man who has earned respect rather than demanded it. Caprio nods. "Sergeant, you issued the citation?" "Yes, Your Honor." His voice is low, calm, with that steady rhythm only time and discipline can forge. "She parked in the disabled zone. I approached politely, informed her she couldn't leave the car there. She told me." Olivia interrupts, sharp and defensive, that's not true. The sergeant doesn't even glance her way. She told me, you don't know who I am. A soft gasp ripples through the courtroom. Olivia shakes her head. I didn't say that. Caprio's tone stays neutral, but the edge of command cuts through it. Do you have your body camera, Sergeant? Clark nods. Yes, sir. He plays the clip. Static crackles, then a voice, her voice, fills the room, calm, articulate, almost amused. Sergeant, I'm Senator Brenner's daughter. You really want to risk your job over a parking ticket? The audio ends. The silence that follows feels physical, pressing against the walls. Caprio exhales slowly. That's not arrogance, Miss Brenner. That's pressure. The kind that makes good people doubt what's right. She opens her mouth, but nothing coherent comes out. I was angry. It didn't mean anything. That's exactly how it begins, he says quietly. Nothing means anything, until suddenly everything does. Rules don't snap in half, they bend under excuses until they break. Her composure finally cracks. You don't understand. I didn't choose this. Every day, people look at me and see him. The perfect senator's daughter. I can't even make a mistake without someone turning it into a headline. Her words spill out, shaky but unfiltered. Do you know what it's like to live under that? To always be the symbol, never the person. For the first time since she entered, her voice sounds human, not polished. The courtroom feels smaller now, closer. Caprio studies her quietly. There's no triumph in his expression, only a weary kind of empathy. Miss Brenner, he says finally, I believe you. I also believe that the world doesn't need another symbol pretending to be perfect. It needs a person willing to be accountable. She looks up, eyes glassy, lips trembling. I don't know how. That's a start, he says softly. He pauses, then adds, your father's name gave you comfort. Today, it offers you no shield. In this room, you stand on your own. A murmur moves through the audience, not judgment this time, but recognition. Even the sergeant, still at attention, lowers his eyes in quiet respect. Caprio leans back, voice low. This isn't about politics, Miss Brenner. It's about honesty. The moment you stop hiding behind your name, you'll discover who you are without it. Olivia's breathing steadies. The mask, composure, pride, entitlement, has cracked beyond repair. Today, Caprio finishes, your father isn't on trial. But you have the chance to show us whose daughter you truly are. The words linger as the lights dim slightly. No gavel falls. The sound of the courtroom, breathing, shifting, hearts recalibrating, fills the void. And for the first time, Olivia Brenner doesn't look like the senator's daughter. She just looks like someone deciding who she'll be next. Caprio sits motionless for a moment, then gestures to the clerk. Bring me the supplemental reports. The rustle of papers slices through the stillness. He scans the pages slowly, lips tightening just enough for the gallery to sense what's coming. 3 years, he says finally. 5 prior violations. Always dismissed. Always warnings. Miss Brenner, aren't you tired of never being held accountable? Olivia lowers her eyes. The silence stretches, sharp and brittle. Then the courtroom doors open. Every head turns. Senator Brenner steps inside, impeccably dressed, but with the look of a man who hasn't slept. Murmurs ripple through the crowd like wind over glass. Caprio doesn't stand. Senator, this is irregular. The senator inclines his head. I'm not here as a senator, Your Honor. I'm here as a father. Caprio's voice hardens slightly. Then you'll remain one. Brenner takes a breath, turns toward his daughter. His voice trembles but stays steady enough to fill the room. She grew up watching me negotiate, twist rules, make things work. I told myself it was leadership. But it was compromise. And she learned that from me. Olivia's eyes widen. The courtroom is still, save for the low hum of fluorescent lights. He continues quietly, I built a career preaching integrity while teaching my own child how to avoid it. That's my shame, not hers. Caprio watches him, saying nothing. The senator turns to Olivia. His tone breaks. I taught you how to survive, not how to live decently. That's on me. She presses her hand to her face, shoulders shaking. No headlines, no cameras, just a father and a daughter, stripped of titles. Caprio lets the silence linger before speaking. You're both right. But awareness without change is just confession. He signs a document and slides it forward. Miss Brenner, you will pay a $5,000 fine. Consider it tuition, the cost of learning what fairness actually feels like. She nods, voice faint. Yes, sir. The gallery rises in spontaneous applause. Caprio lifts a hand, quiet but firm. Enough. This isn't a performance. It's life. The applause dies instantly. The sound that follows is different, a quiet exhale, the sound of understanding. For the first time, both Brenners stand smaller, but somehow truer, than when they entered. The next morning, the courtroom feels different, quieter, almost reverent. Judge Caprio is midway through the docket when the door opens softly. Olivia Brenner steps in. No tailored suit, no gleaming phone. Just a plain blouse, hair tied back, an envelope clutched in her hands. She waits until he finishes the current case, then speaks, her voice calm but carrying. Your Honor, I came back voluntarily. Caprio gestures for her to approach. Most people don't return after paying their fines. I didn't come for the fine, she says. I came for what comes after. She places 2 receipts on the desk. One is the $5,000 payment ordered by the court. The other, larger, draws a murmur from the gallery. I donated another $5,000, she explains. To the Veterans Amputee Fund. I parked in a spot meant for them. I wanted to give something back to those who actually earned what I took for granted. The room stills completely. Even Caprio leans back, studying her face. There's no defiance now, no mask, just a young woman learning how to stand without a surname holding her up. He nods slowly. You've just proven something most people never learn, rules may not be flexible, but the heart can be. She swallows hard, eyes glistening. I've also resigned from my father's campaign. I'm joining a civic outreach program downtown. I want to serve without hiding behind a name. Her words hang in the air, simple and unpolished, but they move through the room like a quiet wind. Caprio's expression softens. You realize, Miss Brenner, this court has seen thousands of people walk through those doors. Few ever walk back unchanged. You did. He looks around the gallery before continuing, his voice resonant but gentle. We all bend under pressure. Power, fear, pride, it pulls at us. But only we choose whether to stay bent or stand up straighter when it's over. In the back row, Sergeant Clark sits with folded hands. The veteran who once muttered about flexible rules wipes at her eyes. Even the senator, seated near the wall, looks smaller, humbled. Olivia turns toward him. Their eyes meet. He starts to rise, extending a tentative hand. She hesitates, then whispers, let me do this part alone, Dad. He freezes, then nods, pride breaking into something more human. Caprio lifts the gavel but pauses. His tone carries both finality and warmth. Justice doesn't exist to punish, Miss Brenner. It exists to remind us who we're supposed to be. He lowers the gavel softly. Case closed. But no one moves. The silence isn't heavy, it's full. A moment of shared breath, of quiet restoration. Finally, someone in the back begins to clap, slow and genuine. Others follow. Caprio raises a hand again, smiling faintly. We don't clap for justice, he says. We live by it. The applause fades into stillness. Olivia exhales, a long, trembling breath, the sound of release. Then she turns toward the door, sunlight spilling across her path. As she steps into it, Caprio watches, voice barely audible. Today we remembered something simple, that laws were never meant for the powerful. They were meant for the fair. Outside, the city hums, indifferent, alive. But for a heartbeat, everyone in that courtroom feels a little straighter, a little lighter, as if reminded that decency, once rediscovered, can still bend the world toward grace.